my dears, it's Katie, and I'm here today to first wrap up December and wrap up everything that I read in December, and then I'm also doing an original tag that is kind of a recap of the year tag. I just don't have the time to do all of the videos that everyone else is doing, top 10 favorite and least favorite videos and stats and everything. So I created a tag mostly for myself, but if any of you want to do it as well, you are welcome to, and you can change it and cater it more towards your own reading and your own channel. Yeah, it's just a very loose thing that I felt like I needed to do. So, first things first, let's wrap up everything that I read in December. So, first thing that I finished in December is Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. This is the third book in the overall Realm of the Elderling series and also the final book in the Farseer trilogy. And this is still probably my favorite book of the Farseer trilogy. There's just so much packed into it, and it's just so good. There are so many great moments that happened in this one, and I just absolutely love it. If you guys don't know, that I've been tabbing my way through the series on my reread. This is the end result, and yeah, listen to that ASMR. But anyway, what this book is about is it picks up pretty much immediately right after the events of Royal Assassin. Fitz is recovering from the events that happened at the end of Royal Assassin with the help of two of his, I'll call them father-like figures. And then ultimately he ends up going on a journey to get revenge against the person who basically took everything from him. And in the process, he gets commanded to come to his king and basically aid him in something once again. And just this book is a whole ride. There's just so much that happens in this book. I absolutely love it. It really does set up a lot of things for later in the series. But yes, once again, absolutely love and adore it. There is, as with all of the books, a lot of trigger/content warnings, and as always, I will link my review down below with all of those to the best of my ability in them. So absolutely, of course, recommend this because we know I'm trash for this. The second book that I finished in December was Lord of the Rings Return of the King, which is the third and final part of the Lord of the Rings epic. And of course, I had an absolutely wonderful time rereading that, and it pretty much follows the events of Two Towers. I'm not going to go into too much because if on the off chance that you haven't read it, I don't want to tell you too much, but it is the final leg of our journey. It's once again split into two parts. We have part 5, which follows basically everybody that is not Frodo and Sam. So it's Gimli, Legolas, Aragorn, Merry, Pippin, Gandalf, etc. And then there is part 6, which is kind of split into like subparts almost. The first chunk follows Sam and Frodo and their journey. And then once again, everyone meets up at the very, very end of the book. And then we follow the kind of result of everything happening and what happens after everything is completed. And I can't express, this was the perfect year to reread Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit. It was just the perfect time for it, and I'm so glad I reread it. And if you haven't read it yet, I'd highly recommend. And then the next book that I read in December was The Enchanted Sonata by Heather Dixon Walwork. This is once again a reread for me. This is a Nutcracker retelling primarily. It's also got some Pied Piper elements as well. And that's basically the gist of this book. It follows our main protagonist, Clara, who is a well-known pianist, and she gets a Nutcracker and a fairy book as a gift. Don't know who it's from, but she starts reading it, and then she gets kind of pulled into the world. The world comes alive around her, and then ultimately she ends up getting transported to the world called Imperia and goes on all kinds of crazy adventures along the way. And it's absolutely brilliant. I always fly through it. The font is very large, and the beginning chapter pages are just beautiful. And I honestly cannot recommend this enough if you haven't read it yet. It's perfect for like winter vibes, but it's also great if you celebrate Christmas. It's a lovely story for that as well. And it's a severely, severely underrated book, but I will literally recommend this forever, because I definitely want more people to read it. But yeah, had an absolute blast rereading this, and I kind of did a loose buddy read with Kara and Vendi while doing this. And yeah, definitely gonna look forward to rereading this again next year. And then I also read, and at the time of filming this, I'm still reading, An Irish Country Christmas by Patrick Taylor. This is a continuation in the Irish Country series that I've been slowly making my way through over the last couple of years. This is probably going to be the last one that I read, despite the fact that there are like 8 or 9 of them. I think the first 3 are the ones that are kind of consecutive and continue following Barry and Fingal. And the other ones are just kind of like spin-offs. I don't know. The other ones are just kind of an on-the-fence situation. But this, once again, follows Barry, who is our apprentice doctor, I guess I'll call him. He's kind of doing his residency, if you want to call it that. And Fingal, who is the grumpy, crotchety, older doctor. And this one takes place at Christmas. And there seems to be a new doctor in town. It's kind of different and stirring up some trouble, and just them trying to figure out how to not have their town destroyed by this other doctor, and also just all of the other chaotic shenanigans that come along with Christmas. So yeah, I'm having a really great time reading through this, except for I really cannot express how much I hate the relationship between Barry and Patricia. They irritate me to no end. Like, I love them as individual characters, but their relationship is one of the things I hate most about these books. Like, I don't know if it was just like the time that they were written or what, but like it really irritates me. So yeah, the book would be completely 100% fine without their relationship in it. And that's really all I have to say about it. But I am enjoying it, albeit not as much as the first one, at least so far. I'm only about this much of the way in, but I will finish it before the end of the year. But yeah, I'm having fun with it, but it's not my favorite thing ever, if that makes sense. And then the last book that I read and finished in December is Inda by Sherwood Smith. This is a military-based fantasy with a really, really unique world system and kind of dynamic between characters and like classes and everything. It's very interesting from those perspectives, but I don't know, the plot doesn't seem to be gripping me the way that I wanted it to, and the writing is fairly easy to follow, but still kind of frustrating at times because it throws a lot of terminology at you that you have no idea about until you kind of like loosely pick up what the meaning is as you go. But yeah, it's interesting. It's the last book of my friend's pick, and I'm like about halfway through at the time of filming this. And as I said, I am enjoying it, but it's not my new favorite thing. So I don't know. We'll see how I feel by the end of it. But overall, I'm still enjoying it, and I will also be done with that by the end of the year, because at time of filming, I'm not finished. So those are all of the books that I read in December. I also did haul, I think, like 4 or 5 books like just over the course of the month, whether it was gifts from friends or it was just me getting things on sale or whatever. But I'm not going to spend too much time on them just because I don't like to talk about books that I haven't read yet, because I don't feel like I have a good enough grasp or understanding about them at the point. But I'm just not going to talk about them in great depth for right now. So that's everything that I did in December. Now, on to my original tag that I mentioned to you guys at the beginning of this video. It's called the Reading Year Recap tag. And as I said earlier, basically what it is it's kind of a culmination of all of the kind of end of the year videos that everyone does, whether it's stats or favorite and least favorite, or just kind of like goals that you might want to accomplish, or just like reflecting back on your year. I just didn't have enough time to do a separate thing for all of that, so I'm doing one with this. So just so you know, when I go through my tag, I am not counting rereads, because they will dominate everything across the board. So Realm of the Elderlings, Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, all of that, not going to be counted in this tag as a favorite, because that's just not fair. So I'm really primarily focusing on new books that I read this year. So, and without further ado, let's just launch right into the questions. So the first question is, how many books did you read in 2020? My count, if it's correct, I'm going to double check that and then put a number on the top of the screen of how many I actually ended up doing. But I think I read like about 90 books, which is a huge thing for me. Like I don't think I've, like, since I started doing Goodreads and started my channel, I've never read 90 books. So I'm just really excited about that. That's a huge accomplishment for me. So yeah, as of filming, I've read, I think, 88 books, and then I have the 2 that I'm in the middle of that I will finish, so that'll bring me up to 90, I believe. Because I also read The Night Before Christmas, which I read every year as well, just as a tradition thing. But I can't believe that I read that many. That's a huge accomplishment for me. I will probably not do that again, just where things are going, but I'm really satisfied with that goal, and I'm really excited that I managed to get that. And then question 2 is kind of a loose one for me. It's just walk through your bookish stats for the year. So for example, like your most read genre, least read genre, star ratings if you do them, like genders of authors, how diversely you read, and your average books per month, etc. So I typically don't do all of those kinds of stats, just that's not my thing. But I did join the Storygraph earlier this year, and you can look at a large chunk of those kinds of things as you go. So I haven't looked at it yet, but at some point I will, just to see for me. So I'm not really going to talk about that, but something that I did actively track this year was how many books I hauled and unhauled. So as for the books I hauled probably about, probably close to 40 books, I think. As for the books I unhauled, I actually wrote down, that was about 20 books. So that was actually not too bad. Because I've dwindled down my library significantly over the last couple of years, I've been a little bit more cautious about what I even haul in the first place, so I don't necessarily unhaul as much because of the amount of things that I have on my shelves, if that makes sense. There are a few books that I'm still kind of like on the fence about that I will probably unhaul, but that probably won't happen until next year. So as of right now, I've only got 20 of those. And then I think those are the majority of the things that I actively tracked throughout the year. Because I mean, some other things that I did do this year was I did start this reading journal. I'm not going to be continuing my reading journal in this format for next year, but I did make a large chunk of the way through it, so you know, I'm not really wasting too much. But I save all my journals anyway, so it's fine. But I really enjoy experimenting with this year, but it just didn't ultimately end up working out the way I wanted it to. But yeah, I did ultimately track a ton of things. Like I wrote out my entire TBR, whether it was ebook or physical, and then I split it down into physical versus ebook, and I did my mom's library and like similar things, and it was a whole process, and it took me a large portion of the early part of the year to do it, but yeah, it got to be way too much, so I made a life choice by doing this, and it just didn't work out quite the way I wanted it to. But yeah, I'm considering tracking different things in the future, but we'll see. It's not necessarily the most important thing for me to do, but I can see the appeal of it. Now, number 3, what is one video you're most proud of from this year? So the main video that I am proud of, and yeah, it doesn't have as much love as I would like, is my Hobbit vlog that I did, I think it was back in March or April. I spent so much time on it, and I had so much fun doing it, just like going through and doing a full deep analysis of The Hobbit, like just doing it chapter by chapter, and you know, reading certain passages and then just talking about them and everything. It was just so much fun for me to make, and I even went so far as to caption that video, and it was like an hour and a half video or something ridiculous. So yeah, I was just incredibly proud of that video, and just how it all turned out and how it all came together. And I've seriously considered doing more videos like that on my channel if people are interested enough, but even if not, I might just do it anyway because it's just fun. They're just very time consuming to make, so I'd need to really sit back and think about how I'd want to do that. So we'll see what I ultimately end up doing, but I'm very proud of that, and I'm going to link it down below if you haven't seen it yet and want to. Number 4, how many readathons did you participate in this year, and would you do any of them again? Okay, there's participated in and participated in. I was a little bit overly ambitious with the amount of readathons I wanted to do this year, but in reality I don't know how many I actually participated in. I participated in 15 readathons, as in I planned out TBRs for them, and I might have read a couple of the prompts. As for ones I actually participated in, it was probably half of that. And as for ones that I'd want to do again, I definitely want to do the Polarthon again. I had so much fun doing that. I love polar fantasy. I never really connected the dots as that being a kind of like subgenre of fantasy, but now that I kind of have, I just know that that's something that I love. I love winter-based fantasies, just across the board. I could do a whole winter recommendations video and give you guys so many great recommendations. So I don't know, I might do that in the future, but it just didn't work out this year. So that's one that I want to redo again. And then whatever she ends up doing with like her like magical readathon or magic based readathon, I'm definitely going to continue doing that. I did participate in the last rounds of what used to be the Owls and the Newts, and I had a lot of fun doing that. I I just tend to find that like career-based or like role-based readathons are really fun because you can just do so much with them. So I definitely really enjoyed those, and I would want to do something like that again. Whatever she comes up with, I am there for. And then the Make Your Myth Taker readathon was an absolute delight, and I would 100% want to do that one again. And I do love the Believe-a-thon readathons as well. As long as I'm doing the month-long ones, I tend to be more focused during the month-long ones rather than the like 2 weeks or even a week-long ones. Those are probably the ones that I would do again. Whether I will actually do them again, I don't know. But that is the ultimate goal for me to do. But yeah, I love readathons. They stress me out sometimes, and I just don't have a ton of time or energy to do them the way that I want to. And I did a whole discussion about my relationship with readathons, read-alongs, and buddy reads, and I will link that down below for you as well to go and check out if you're interested. So now number 5 is your least favorite book of the year, and unfortunately for me, this is The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan, which is the first book of the Wheel of Time series. I just was very disappointed in that book. It just didn't grip my interest or attention. I was pretty bored throughout the whole thing, and it just felt like just a complete Tolkien copycat, and I just didn't like pretty much anything about it. I'm still on the fence as to whether I'm going to continue on with the series. What I might do is sample it just to see how I feel about it, but overall I was just really disappointed in it, and that's a shame because I thought I was really going to like it, and yeah, I just had a hard time with it across the board. It wasn't that I despised it, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, and I was just disappointed by what I found across the board. So number 6 is favorite book of the year, and this hands down is The Wolf and the Whale by Jordana Max Brodsky. I absolutely loved everything about this book. The atmosphere, the wintry vibes, the characters, the plot, the intermingling of both Inuit and Norse mythology and culture is just absolutely incredibly well done. And I cannot express how much I absolutely adored this book. So I'm just going to tell you guys, if you can go and read it, I would highly, highly recommend it. And I will link my review down below because, once again, there are quite a few trigger and content warnings in it, but I would absolutely highly recommend it if you get the chance. And definitely come talk to me about it because it's, once again, a pretty underhyped, under-recommended book. So yeah, definitely check that one out. Then number 7 is reflect back on the year. Are you happy with what you accomplished? If not, what would you change? And what would you continue to do? So, reflecting back on the year and whether I'm satisfied with everything that I did, in part, yes, but in part, no. So, I haven't talked about this much on my channel, but I've been feeling incredibly unsatisfied with my content, like what I've been putting out and the quality of the content that I've been putting out. It just hasn't been exciting me over the last year or so, and so I'm really trying to figure out how to fix that going forward. Like, there are some things that I loved doing this year. Like, I really enjoyed doing my sample series, and I loved my Hobbit vlog and the discussions that I've been doing. Like, I really loved all of those, but just I got so busy this year that it almost felt like a chore to create content and put anything out. And kind of going into the new year, I'm still feeling that way. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do so that I can get excited again and feel better about the things that I've been putting out. So that's one thing. I've really I'm really glad I decided to start captioning this year. As much as it's does feel like a chore and it's something I really dislike doing because of how time consuming it is, it's so important to do. So I am glad that I did that. Um, and yeah, just reflecting back, I'm not quite satisfied with what I did just across the board. So I'll be trying to figure out what that means for me going forward. And I don't know, maybe trying to carry over some of the things that I did do and I did really enjoy, and seeing what I can do moving ahead. And I think I participated in, or attempted to participate in too many readathons. That just was very stressful for me across the board. So just limiting myself on the amount of readathons that I do, and being a little bit pickier with what I choose to do, but then still trying to hype up the creators of the ones that I do want to participate in, because that is important. Like, people should hear about them and, participate in them. And I think that by even just doing like a shout out and, maybe giving like a recommendation or two for some books that might work for some prompts for people or something, might be a really lovely way of still trying to participate and giving the content creator the recognition they deserve, is just a really good way to do that. I'm not sure yet, though. So yeah, those are definitely some things that I, just reflecting back on, I really was dissatisfied with this year. There were some things that I was really proud of and really excited about. Like, I talked about my Hobbit vlog and just the amount of books that I read this year, despite having a harder time getting into anything, and just solidifying some of the friendships that I made and buddy reading with people. Like, that's all stuff that I really, really enjoy and will probably continue on with going forward. So I don't know. We'll see. There are a lot of things that I could say for this question, frankly, but it might warrant its own video. So we'll see what I end up doing. And then finally is number 8. What are your top 3 goals for next year? So my main goal for next year is to just be very low-key and relaxed. If you don't already remember, I talked about some changes that are coming to my channel in my life channel update that I did a couple of months ago, where I am going to cut back the amount of times that I post in a year, because I just do not have the time and energy to dedicate to everything that I want to do, and also just being satisfied, but still wanting to put at least something out every so often. So one of my main goals is to be more low-key and laid back, and one of the ways that I'm going to do that is by reducing the content that I put out. Another way that I'm going to do that is by just trying to take all pressure off of myself about the amount of things and the things that I'm reading. Before, I kind of had this unspoken TBR in my head of like how many books I should get to in a month, or just what I should get to in a year. Like, this year I did my my Friends Choose challenge, and that was a lot of fun, but at times I was just like, I don't want to read this right now, but I'm like, I have to get through this by the end of the year. And so I'm probably not going to do that again. I just want to have like zero obligations to anybody, except for like a few friends that I am doing specific buddy reads with. Like, I'm going to be continuing my Realm of the Elderlings reread with Fendi. That is non-negotiable. I'm probably going to do a few buddy reads with Kara, and I don't know, so it's just going to be a little bit more loose with the things that I do. Like, I'm already trying to figure out how to not stress myself out going into January. I've got like 6 things that I want to read. 2 of them I am buddy reading, so they're priority over the other 4. But I just don't know how to have that off switch, or that kind of take a break, or you're not obligated to do this switch. So I'm going to try and be a little bit more relaxed. Another of my goals that I'm going to be doing is, that kind of goes hand in hand with this, is I'm going to set my reading challenge really, really low for next year. I think I'm going to only set it for 2 books, and then just kind of let the rest be its own thing. So it'll be more quality over quantity. Again, know a lot of people who do, like, I want to read 100 books, or I want to read 200 books, or I want to read 50. You know, I got so caught up in that it just took, like, placing these self-imposed deadlines on myself really sucked the joy out of reading for me. And because of that, I almost find certain books, not my favorite shelf, but certain books to be a chore to read. And I need to recapture my joy and love of doing things right now. Because right now I feel like across the board that I'm just not enjoying most of the things that I'm doing for fun. So yeah, YouTube and reading and just pretty much most things that I'm doing for fun are just not super fun for me right now. Like, one thing that I absolutely love doing was my buddy reads with Vendi this year, particularly with ROTE, and just like talking about it in depth with her, and just really having someone to share it with, because it is arguably my favorite series. So just talking to her about it really, like, it was something I looked forward to doing every single day. So I'm probably going to focus on just reading things that are speaking to me at a moment and that I want to read, rather than feeling like I'm obligated to read something. So I'm just going to try and be a little bit more relaxed with everything this year, and try not to impose strict deadlines on myself, or just like huge goals or anything. One other thing is I'm only going to participate in a very select few of readathons, just because they stress me out, they're time consuming, and I just, because of the way I've been feeling about my reading and doing things I enjoy, I need to be very, very selective about them. So we'll ultimately see what happens with that. So just to recap my main goals for next year, I'm going to be a lot more low-key with my reading. I'm setting my reading goal for very, very low, just because it's like I want to still read, but I don't want it to be a big event and like consume my everything. And then just try and continue doing certain kinds of buddy reads, and just try and recapture what I love about reading. And then also post less content, and just try and figure out what that means. So, on that note, those are all of the questions. I had a really great time making this video. I had a really, overall, while it was an odd year, it was a decent year at the same time in other ways. But yeah, if you want to do this tag, I'll leave the questions down below for you. If you are interested, just comment down below or tag me and just say I tagged you, or like, just even if you're just interested and you're like, this is fun, I want to do this, by all means, go ahead. All know the drill. I have all of my social media linked down below in the description, at least for the moment. That might be changing come New Year. I will keep you updated. But other than that, I hope you're all staying safe and happy and just okay enough in this chaotic time. And I hope that 2021 brings you much joy and happiness, and have a happy new year. And I will catch you later in another video for you again soon. Bye!